As promised, today I'll be breaking down Queen Ansurek on normal and heroic difficulties. This fight is a 3-stage encounter where you'll want to bloodlust in phase 3. During the first phase, Ansurek will apply a reactive toxin to one player or 2 players on heroic. This deals damage to nearby players and will explode after 6 seconds. This explosion deals heavy nature damage and will knock back any nearby players, but it will also drop a pool of froth, so place these circles at the edge of the platform. Once Ansurek reaches 100 energy, she will cast Venom Nova, killing anyone within 8 yards of her and expanding a Nova outward across the arena. If struck, the player will be slowed and take heavy damage, and most importantly, if the Nova hits an unburst froth pool, you will wipe. Just as she casts Venom Nova, your whole raid will need to position themselves just inside the active froth pool, and once everybody is in position, an assigned player should walk into the froth to knock everybody up above the Venom Nova. On heroic, each player can only trigger the froth pool once, so you'll need to pre-assign a few different players. This assigned player that triggered the froth will then be debuffed and explode after 6 seconds, dealing damage to players based on proximity, so make sure to get away from the raid with this. After the froth pool has been triggered, it will then turn into a permanent pool of acid. Ansurek will also spawn toxic waves from the froth pool that players must dodge. These waves hit incredibly hard and knock players back. She will then cast Silken Tomb, encasing all players in webbing after 4 seconds. Here, the whole raid will want to loosely stack near the boss, ready to cleave all the webs down to be freed from them. Don't stack directly on top of each other though, as the roots deal AoE damage around you. On heroic, this will also leave webs on the floor when freed from your root. All players will need to dodge when Ansurek casts Web Blades. Here she will mark a large portion of the platform with lines that will deal heavy damage and slow players by 95% if struck. Tanks will need to deal with Ansurek's Liquefy Tank Buster. This deals massive damage to the active tank and applies a 30-second dot, as well as a physical damage taken increase. You'll need to swap here after each cast. This cast will also drop an acid pool beneath her, as well as firing swirlies at random players' locations. Make sure to avoid standing in these, and tanks should slowly kite her around the arena. Ansurek actually boasts 2 tank busters. She will also cast Feast on the active tank, dealing massive physical damage that leaves a big healing absorb. Make sure to use mitigation for this attack. Throughout the phase, the boss will constantly pulse raid-wide damage with Acrid Presence, so healers just make sure to keep everybody healthy. After 2.5 minutes, Ansurek will go to the middle of the platform and begin to channel Predation. This places a massive absorb shield on herself and binds all players to her with Predation threads, and on heroic you'll need to loosely spread so you don't damage each other with these threads. Frequently during this channel, she will pull all players towards her with Rest, dealing heavy damage and one-shotting anyone that gets pulled directly under her, so you'll want to position yourself near the edge of the platform for this cast and keep running away. Burst through this shield as quickly as you can during this intermission, as she will also cast Paralyzing Venom, progressively slowing down the raid and also increasing the damage taken from Rest. Here she will also fire out toxic waves that you all must dodge. These waves will apply more stacks of Venom, dealing big damage and knocking players back. Once you break Ansurek's shield, she will ascend to the top platform. Here she will summon many different adds on the platforms that you need to climb. Your raid will need to be split into 2, and each group will need to kill the Ascended Void Speaker last on each platform, as once they die, they will explode shortly after, catapulting you up to the next platform, so make sure that they are positioned well. These Void Speakers will also cast Shadow Blast, which players must interrupt, and on heroic they will also spawn orbs that the raid will need to dodge. Chamber Guardians need to be picked up by the tanks. They will cast Oust on the tank, which deals mixed damage and will knock the tank away. Make sure not to get knocked off the platforms by this cast. You'll also need to dodge the swirlies they fire out. These will again knock you back. Chamber Expellers will teleport around their platform, casting a beam targeted towards a player. This will knock back any player struck, so everybody again must make sure to dodge. Caustic Skitterers are spawned upon activating the next platform. Tanks need to pick up aggro on these little guys and bring them to the next platform to be cleaved down. Finally, Devoted Worshippers are your highest priority target. They have 1 health point but have a massive shield that prevents Ansurek from taking any damage. You need to break their shield and kill them before they finish their Cosmic Apocalypse cast. This will wipe the raid if it's successful. Worshippers will also apply Gloom Touch to random players. Healers should dispel this debuff ASAP. While you kill off the adds and ascend the platform, Ansurek will periodically fire acid bolts at random players, dealing upfront damage and applying a 30-second dot. She will also occasionally cast Rest, again pulling all players into her and therefore off the platform, so make sure you run against it. Finally, after 1 minute of this phase, she will begin a 35-second Acidic Apocalypse cast that will one-shot the raid if you don't reach her and kick her in time. Once you do reach and kick her, she will then begin phase 3 by casting Aphotic Communion. Burst her down as much as you can here. At the start of phase 3, Ansurek will apply an Abyssal Infusion Bomb to 2 players that last 6 seconds. When these bombs explode, they will deal huge damage to nearby players, knock them back, and create 2 connected portals. On Heroic, when these portals are created, they'll fire out orbs that you need to dodge. You'll need the 2 debuff players to drop these bombs on opposite sides of the ring, as walking into one will teleport you to the other, which is vital for her Frothing Gluttony cast. Frothing Gluttony will be cast upon Ansurek reaching 100 energy. This cast will bind all players with webs and pull you in towards her at increasing strength. Again, if you're dragged under her here, you will instantly die. She will also draw in a massive Nova that will slow players and deal huge damage upon impact, so you'll need to enter the inside portal to be teleported to the outside portal once the Nova has passed through it, so that you don't get killed by the Nova. Note that on Heroic, all players will explode for shadow damage after crossing the portals. Just after Frothing Gluttony, both portals will explode, dealing damage to all players and firing out orbs that will knock players back if struck, so make sure to spread away from the portals after using them. These portals will also leave a permanent pool of shadow, so stay out of this. If targeted by Royal Condemnation, the targeted players must move away from the raid, spread, and use a defensive. Ansurek will drop spikes on these players that will deal huge raid-wide damage upon impact, but the damage is reduced by distance. On Heroic, these spikes will shackle the players, and these need to be destroyed before they trap players in cocoons. Queen Summon will spawn 2 adds in the center with a shield that makes them immune to crowd control, so all players must quickly break this to interrupt them and kill them. These adds are your highest priority to kill, as they will wipe you if they are active during Frothing Gluttony. On Heroic, these adds will drop their soul upon death. 2 players must run and touch their soul, which will inflict a 15-second dot on them, and these players will need to cross the portals perfectly for Frothing Gluttony so that the souls don't get struck by the Nova, because if the adds or souls are struck, Ansurek will consume them to increase her damage by 100%, and this does stack. Note that the players carrying the souls will not be able to carry the next, so pre-assign different players for later in the fight. In this phase, tanks will need to deal with the boss's Infest mechanic. Ansurek will deal massive mixed damage to the tank and infest them with spider eggs that spawn after 4 seconds. These spiders will rush to Ansurek, and if they reach her, she will gain a 20% damage increase and deal raid-wide damage. The targeted tank must make sure to run away for this mechanic, and DPS should immediately nuke these spiders while CCing them. On Heroic, these spiders will drop permanent shadow pools, so space will be limited on this platform. Tanks will also have to deal with her Gorge. This deals high physical damage and increases physical damage taken by 150%, so use mitigation and make sure to taunt swap after each one. Players will still have to dodge the web blades from earlier, and during this last phase, Ansurek will constantly pulse out damage to the raid with Dreadful Presence, increasing in damage after each Frothing Gluttony cast. Once she casts Frothing Gluttony a 4th time, she will then enrage and quickly kill the raid, so make sure to take her down before that. But that's all you need to know to take down Queen Ansurek on normal and heroic difficulties, so good luck getting your ahead of the curve. If this guide did help you or a friend out, then please feel free to drop a like down below, subscribe to your boy, share with any guildies that need it, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.